In this video, we're going to take a look at the specific types of epithelial tissue. We begin by talking about simple squamous epithelial tissue. Simple, one layer. Squamous, squashed. So this is a single layer of very flattened epithelial tissue. The nuclei are usually broad and thin. It's commonly found in areas where diffusion and filtration are in use. So for example, you're going to find these in the alveoli of the lungs where gas exchange occurs, and you're going to find these in the capillaries in the circulatory system where gas exchange and nutrient exchange occurs. Then we have simple cuboidal epithelial tissue. Again, simple, one layer, cuboidal, cube shape, so simple cuboidal epithelial tissue. It's one layer and square in appearance. The nuclei is usually in the middle of the cell and round or spherical. They form the walls of conduits that carry secretory and excretory products. It regulates ions and water concentrations, certain specialized salivary ducts. It might also act as a protective barrier in some locations. Now, we just used the words excretions and secretions. What do these mean? Excretion is secreting something. Something is secreted, especially metabolic waste. So an excretion is the getting rid of metabolic waste, junk, stuff that we want to get rid of, waste products. Secretions is the process of segregating, elaborating, and releasing some material either functionally specialized or isolated for excretion. So a secretion could be something that we need to use. For example, saliva, the spit. Or it could be something that we no longer need, a waste products, i.e. urine, for example. So a secretion is the giving away, the producing of some sort of substance. An excretion is a waste product. So all excretions are secretions, but not all secretions are excretions. Hopefully that shed a little bit of light on that one. Then we have simple columnar epithelial tissue. So again, simple, one layer, columnar, column-shaped. These cells have cilia or microvilli on its apical end, that's the top part. It is a single layer, rectangular column appearance. The nuclei is usually basal, located around the bottom area. It functions in secretions, there's that word again, absorption, and when ciliated may move materials like mucus or eggs. Lines of stomach intestine, the rectum, the ureters, and oviducts can also be found in large ducts of certain glands. Goblet cells could be mixed in with this type of tissue. Goblet cells are cells that produce mucus. So goblet cells, mucus, those words should tie together in your mind. Then we have pseudostratified columnar epithelial tissue. So pseudostratified, again, this word means there looks like there's more than one layer, but in fact everything touches the basement membrane, and columnar, column shape. Most of these cells are ciliated, which could help you identify them on a tissue sample or tissue slide. The ciliated pseudostratified columnar epithelium lines the larger diameter passageways. They are also found lining parts of the male reproductive tract and the respiratory tract. And again, we also have goblet cells located here. The goblet cells and mucus, as well as the cilia, form a very powerful team. What winds up happening is, as you're watching this video and other videos, you are swallowing mucus. Okay, I'm maybe even swallowing mucus right now as I'm talking to you. What happens here is the goblet cells are secreting mucus, for example, in the respiratory tract, which are there to catch particles, are there to catch icky stuff. And the cilia are going to move the mucus up towards the area where your windpipe and your food pipe come together. So your esophagus and your trachea come together, and you're going to just swallow. Okay, you do this on a normal day, you do this without even thinking about it, and what you're doing is you're getting a little bit of mucus from the respiratory tract, which is really not equipped to handle foreign invaders, into the digestive system, which is very equipped to handle foreign invaders. We have the stomach acid and a lot of fun stuff, which will destroy a lot of things. So the combination of the goblet cells and the mucus and the cilia form a very powerful team, which we'll look at in more detail when we cover the respiratory system. Our next one is stratified squamous epithelial tissue. So again, squamous are the flat cells. Stratified means there's more than one layer. So the top layer closest to the outside world cells are flat. The base layer, the cells are cuboidal or columnar. So what winds up happening here is at the basement layer, at the bottom layer, we have the cells that are more cube-shaped, cuboidal shaped, columnar shaped. And as they're moving towards the top, as they're moving more towards the apical end, they start to get flattened and flattened and flattened out. So at the top layer, we're looking at the squamous cells. At the bottom layer, we're looking more at cuboidal. But in general, we call this stratified squamous epithelial tissue. As cells are lost from the apical end, the cells below move up. The cells can either be keratinized or non-keratinized. We have this tissue in abundance. In fact, what you're looking at right now on me is stratified squamous epithelial tissue. Okay, you're seeing that if you're looking at my flesh, you are seeing stratified squamous epithelial tissue. That's what you're seeing here. Now, we can have keratinized or non-keratinized, and we'll get into the specifics in a minute. But if you want to know the difference between the two, just a general difference, do this real quick. Take your tongue and feel the inside of your cheek. Okay, take your tongue. I know I sound funny, don't I? Take your tongue and just rub it on the inside of your cheek, okay? It feels kind of smooth, kind of soft, kind of moist. Okay, that's stratified squamous epithelial tissue, non-keratinized. Now, take your tongue and lick the back of your hand. No, kidding. You're in your own home, so do whatever you want. But you can see and feel the difference, okay? This is also stratified squamous epithelial tissue, and so is the stuff in your mouth. The difference comes in when we're talking about keratin. Keratin is a protein that will infuse the cell, making it tougher, making it more resistant to water loss. It's more important in areas that have high wear and tear. The non-keratinized doesn't have that protein. In fact, the top layer of skin that you see, okay, as you're looking at me, I see dead tissue. Okay, you're seeing dead tissue. The epithelial tissue you see on my arms and my hands and my face are all dead. It's been keratinized. So when you look at somebody, you go, oh, they're great looking, they're handsome, they're pretty, they're whatever. You're appreciating dead tissue, right? The inside of the mouth, the non-keratinized, is actually living tissue. So let's take a look at the very specifics here. So keratinized, keratin will kill the cell, it'll waterproof the cell, it'll make the cell an effective barrier to microorganisms. The cell occurs in multi-layered sheets, found mainly in skin, thickest in the palms of the hands and soles of the feet. The non-keratinized, also known as mucosal membrane, is thinner than keratin, does what keratin counterpart does, just not to the same degree. It stays soft and moist. It lines the wet cavities subject to abrasions, for example, the mouth, the esophagus, the vagina, and vocal folds. Then we have stratified cuboidal epithelial tissue. So we're looking at multiple layers of cube-shaped cells. In general, they're relatively rare in the body. They line the larger ducts of the mammary glands, the sweat glands, the salivary glands, and the pancreas. They also form the lining, developing ovarian follicles and seminiferous tubules. Stratified columnar epithelium. Now hopefully you're getting the pattern here. Stratified, more than one layer, columnar, cuboidal, squamous. Okay, we're just mixing and matching parts here. So stratified columnar epithelial tissue. Apical cells might be ciliated, uncommon in the body, can be found in the larger ducts of some larger glands, occurs in small isolated patches, some mucosal membranes. Then we have transitional epithelial tissue, which we talked about in the previous video. This is the tissue that's going to stretch depending on what's being done to it. So we find this stuff in the bladder, and it will go from cuboidal to squamous depending on how much it's being stretched. So that's going to conclude the specific types of epithelial tissue. In our next video, we're going to take a look at the special features that we find on, in, around epithelial tissue.